Hi, guys. Welcome back to my podcast. This is your host, Betty. And here I am again. I am so excited to be here with you guys. I think this is my episode number 50. So, oh my God. 50, that's a big number. And then 2 more weeks and it'll be 52, which means I've been doing this for a year. Oh my God. Isn't that amazing? Anniversary. But I was given a lot of thought, and today we're going to be diving into an important and often misunderstood topic, which is the difference between a narcissist and having narcissistic personality disorder, or what they call NPD. It is crucial to understand these differences because while narcissism can be part of a healthy self-esteem, NPD, it's a serious mental health condition that requires empathy and support. So basically, where do we start here? So narcissist comes from the Greek myth of Narcissus. He was a handsome man who fell in love with his own reflection in a pool of water. He was so entranced by his own image that he could not leave it, which led to his death. So literally being in love with himself killed him. The term later was used in psychology to describe excessive self-love and self-centeredness. So thinking about this, what is narcissism? We said a narcissist, that where it comes from and everything. Narcissism is often used as a catch-all term to describe people who are self-centered or vain, but it's a bit more nuanced than that. Narcissism is a personality trait that can actually be quite healthy. It's about having confidence, self-respect, and a good level of self-esteem. However, when narcissism becomes excessive, it can lead to behaviors like constantly seeking admiration, having difficulty accepting criticism, and feeling entitled. So basically, narcissism can be found in different people, whereas NPD is a severe persistent pattern of behavior that significantly impacts a person's life and relationships. The disorder involves specific diagnostic criteria that goes beyond occasional or moderate narcissistic traits. In this case, so what is narcissistic personality disorder? Now, let's talk about this. NPD is a diagnosable mental health disorder characterized by a pervasive pattern of grandiosity, a constant need for admiration, and a lack of empathy for others. So according to the DSM-5, some of the diagnostic criteria include having an inflated self-sense of self-importance, fantasizing about unlimited success and power, believing they are special, requiring excessive admiration, and exhibiting arrogant behaviors or attitudes. So what's the DSM-5? So the DSM-5 is the book, is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Health Disorders, and it's 5th edition. So this is a book that doctors and mental health providers use to diagnose mental health conditions. So basically, in this book, it describes different mental health disorders along with the criteria and the symptoms needed for its diagnosis. So in that book, that's where they found, what are the characteristics, or what are the characteristics that you would have to diagnose you with a narcissistic personality disorder. So what are the differences then between narcissism and NPD? Well, first it's about severity. and pervasiveness. While narcissism can be a single trait that doesn't necessarily disrupt a person's life, NPD affects multiple areas of life, including relationships and work. People with NPD often struggle with empathy, understanding others' feelings, and maintaining healthy relationships. So it's all about the severity of the symptoms. Well, we all can have a little bit of a narcissistic trait. Not all of us are diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. So there are many misconceptions about narcissism and NPD. Like I said, one of them is that all narcissists have NPD, which is not true. Another is that narcissism is always negative, which in fact, there's a healthy level of narcissism that can be beneficial. There's also a stigma that people with NPD are beyond help, which is not the case. And it is important to approach this topic with empathy and understanding. So why not all narcissists have NPD? Well, because basically exhibiting narcissistic traits doesn't necessarily mean that someone meets the clinical criteria for NPD. So there has to be like a certain clinical criteria that a person has to meet to have the disorder, whereas other people, they're just narcissists. In this case, people with NPD can benefit from various forms of therapy, including cognitive behavioral therapy or CBT and psychotherapy. Support systems, whether they're family, friends, or professionals, play a crucial role in the treatment process. For those dealing with narcissistic traits or NPD, self-help strategies like mindfulness and self-reflection can also be helpful. So basically, we have to be, people have to be aware of what's going on. It's always, always the first step is to admit that there's something wrong. It's not that there's something wrong. It's just that something is just not right. Like, we might have an issue that could be helped if we wanted to, but obviously we have to get help. So in this case, it is important that recognize the difference in between narcissism and NPD. It's like narcissism is more like, it can be healthy in a way where it's confidence, self-esteem, self-respect. In a narcissistic personality disorder, it's grandiose self-importance, preoccupation with fantasies of limited success, power, brilliance, beauty, or ideal love, believes that they are so special and unique, requires excessive admiration, sense of entitlement, interpersonally exploitative, lack of empathy, envious of others or believes others are envious of them, arrogant, haughty behaviors or attitudes. So NPD can affect a person's, interpersonal relationships like work, social functioning, everything and anything gets affected by that. Whereas narcissism, somebody could be just like trying to get a little bit of admiration, or people just have difficulty accepting a little bit of criticism, self-promotion. But it doesn't meet the clinical criteria where basically a person with a narcissistic personality disorder, they can still function and have healthy relationships. Well, I'm sorry, no. So the narcissists can have healthy relationships, but the ones with NPD struggle significantly, especially because of the differences in empathy and understanding of others' feelings. A person with NPD sometimes does not have the empathy needed to understand other people's feelings, and that's why they sometimes are very blunt. So narcissism is not always negative. There's always help that we can give. And, there's, like I said, there's options: therapy, mindfulness, self-reflection, building empathy, support in family, friends, or professional support, whichever. Because it's important, when anybody has any type of mental disorder, any type of mental issue, I think it has to be addressed with a doctor, first of all, because they're the ones that know. Like, I could tell you, like, oh, I know this and this and that. Doesn't mean that don't take this as a diagnosis. Like, this isn't me saying this is what you have. If you feel like you have those characteristics, then you need to go to a professional that can diagnose you. And if you feel like, oh my God, no, it's just I'm a little narcissistic, I just love myself a lot, and that's a good thing. We have to love it. We have to love ourselves a lot in order to be able to respect ourselves and have other people's respect. So, it's important to recognize the difference in between narcissism and NPD and approach them both with empathy and understanding. If you see these traits in yourself or someone you care about, seeking help is a positive step. So I really appreciate you guys for tuning in today's episode. I would love to hear your thoughts and questions on this topic. So feel free to reach out. So, guys, like I said, you need anything, I'm here to talk, but I'm not a doctor. So if you do think that you need more, then, there's a lot of websites where you can find a behavioral specialist, a behavioral doctor. You can even go to your primary care doctor and they can point you in the right direction to where you can find a behavioral specialist, or even to see if they can help you in some way and send you to the right people. So I'm always here to help, but remember, guys, you gotta help yourselves. So that's very important. So that was my take on narcissism and narcissistic personality disorder. And to me, it's very important to know the differences, because I know that I have been called a narcissist at some point in my life, which I know because I've heard the story of Narcissus, Narcissus. We probably read that in, I don't know, in some book in Mexico when we were studying. And I knew that, this guy fell in love with his reflection. So it's not specifically like the disorder. The disorder just goes beyond like normal stuff. Or not normal, but more like healthy. There's like some healthy stuff that we do, some unhealthy. And when it reaches to the unhealthy part, then we have to see, is it just that I'm coping with my narcissism? Like, am I just being a narcissistic person? Am I just being, a jerk? Or do I really have an issue? So that's when you go get help. Because it's important. Like I said, you gotta take care of yourself. So, yeah. If you ever been called a narcissist, we all have been, probably. But if you have a disorder, it is very important that you take care of yourself and you find help. Because it could get worse and it could affect your life in ways that you wouldn't even know. So, I love you guys so much, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.